is ubiquitous, but
Mhm.
what does that really mean? There's a lot of hyperbole around it. There's a lot of theory, but how do you really turn that into meaningful impact? I think if we can put together a panel and a conversation and an agenda with some examples around, we get all of the theory, but if we
Right.
do these tangible things, you can actually deliver the value and the promise of AI. I think
Mhm.
it's that bit that's missing for many organizations, is saying, I understand that there's opportunity, but how do I actually get to the value? And you can talk to a lot of companies that are delivering AI, and they'll say, well, you need to give me some use cases. How do I even come up with a use case?
Mhm.
Like you tell, I need people to tell me, and consultants will come up with some, well, this company here, we did this. Yeah, that doesn't really work for me.
Yeah.
So I think helping the community join the dots around, yes, there's the theory and everybody's talking about it, but how do I build that, not roadmap, but highlight those use cases? I think that could be really valuable to the community, unlocking the potential. I'll give a worked example, and I can do this, on the panel if needed as well.
Mhm.
So I got a challenge from the CFO, and Devendra, we spoke about this. I got a challenge from the CFO to take $100 million out of working capital. Okay, big challenge. Why?
Leon, would you repeat the challenge again?
So yeah,
Oh.
so I got a challenge to take $100 million out of working capital, out of
Thank you.
inventory.
Thank you.
Um, why is that important? Well, if I can free up working capital and we're not investing $100 million in just inventory and service levels and things that we need inventory for, lead time potentially, um, then we can use it for something else. We can use it to acquire a company. We can use it to grow the business, to access a different market. We can drive, penetration and grow the business because I'm using my, limited resources, um, somewhere else more productive. So that's an opportunity. Now, how can I lean into AI and a digital transformation or something to be able to do that? Well, there's hundreds of different AI tools that can go out and do inventory optimization. I can drive efficiency in my teams through RPA so that they can focus on more value added work.
Mm.
So there's a couple of different use cases that I can tease out to say, if I implement this sort of technology, I can free up my organization to use their brain to go and drive some inventory improvements. Um, for bigger companies, I mean, Chris has probably faced this as well. I mean, we kind of do this all the time, and we get these lofty targets. For smaller companies, it can be quite, a $200,000 inventory reduction could pay for a person. You could employ somebody, so you could invest in people and grow your organization. So different for different organizations, but it's about trying to take a concept and deliver the value out of it.
Yeah,
And
I
one,
think.
go on, Stefan.
No, sorry, I interrupt you. Sorry, I interrupt you.
No, no, you're right. Well,
I mean,
you go.
no, sorry, no, I interrupt you again. Sorry, it was a delay to you.
You go.
No, I mean, I think I like this type of discussion because, we do since 11 years the digital things, but for me it's more advanced technology, and for example, AI could be a part of this,
Yeah,
because not every advanced algorithm or things is automatically AI. I think this is why I'm sometimes a little bit annoyed on this because
yeah,
people say, you do all the digital and we save the costs, but you don't use any AI. No, we use
mm,
algorithm, advanced algorithm, and
mm,
the fine balance. What you see now, everyone puts a label on. 2 years ago, it was advanced algorithm what solved the problem. Now you
yep,
stick AI
yeah,
and it's then a cooler story. I mean, this is what I feel could be also point is. I think I'm completely with you. Digital transformation is the key, but not not all digital transformation which generates value is automatically AI. I mean,
Yes.
this is my gut feeling a little bit. Maybe I'm
Right
too
on.
pessimistic or not pessimistic, but I mean, I'm engineer, so sometimes engineers have the feeling, something 5 years ago was an algorithm, now it's AI, same algorithm. Only my point.
No, I think
wanted, Leon, I want to welcome Asha D'Souza. Hi, Asha. You're on
Asha.
mute. Asha, you may remember, addressed our conference a year ago, and she used to be working with Amazon in the good old days. Asha, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much, Devendra. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Good morning, good
Asha.
afternoon, evening, wherever you are at. Just a quick intro. I spent close to 15 years at Amgen, followed by Gilead, Genentech, Roche, and then a young company, drug device combination therapy. And then I joined Amazon to really help our industry to enable themselves with technology and take data-driven approaches to precisely solving problems like Leon, you called out.
Yeah.
How do I bring the growth to my business and support the top line and the bottom line so that business thrives? And don't talk to me technology, but talk to me in the language I understand so that I can embrace the right way to solve the problems. I enjoyed my time solving many industry problems, but I'm really happy to get back and talk about what you're wanting to experience. And the partners or consultants coming in speak only technology does not mean a thing from business side. So I'm completely in alignment what you're talking, and I'm listening. Maybe at some point we can talk about how to solve these problems.
Thank you, Asha. Thank
definitely.
you. Leon, I want to give you some feedback on what you kicked off this meeting with.
Yep.
When I heard your words, I'm being very honest here, that's precisely what my community at BSMA needs.
Yep.
They are being overwhelmed by a lot of things, but they need to figure out where they can adopt technology that solves a problem.
Yep.
And your emphasis on case studies, there's nothing like it. You know, when you see a demonstration of a problem being solved, you know what to do, or you have an option. So I would very much want us to be on that wavelength, not only for our discussion, but particularly leading up to the conference in 2026, where not only a panel, I think we need many, many presentations of case studies. And the conversation you and I have had with Ranjan, if I could request Ranjan to share his thoughts on what Leon just said.
Sure. In fact, let me just add one thing. I think the discussion we have had thus far, I think it's really aligned to what I'll be sharing. So the sequence really matters. And if you can broaden the discussion, that will help. The first is that you got to stop doing what doesn't add value, right? And that's also important. Second, you got to simplify the process and then automate with AI. Else you're risking automating a lot of bad processes, which is what's happening in the industry, right? There's too much of technology in play. So, but I'm happy to share some use cases from my own experience to add to this discussion. Maybe
I just made you a co-host, so you can share whatever you wish.
Okay, just about 3 or 4 slides. No big deal.
All right. That way we can stay on Leon's trend of use cases.
Sure.
And then I'm going to give a heads up to Chris to get ready to share his attempts at digitalization at Bayer.
Sure.
Chris, can you hear us? Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, we can see you. We can see the slide.
You can see the slide. Great. Let me allow.
Okay.
Just one sec. I don't know what this is. Okay, good. So all good. So I'll be sharing our experience as client zero. I was the CTO for the Global Chief Data Office for the last 7.5 years before I moved to IBM Research AI. And given that I was part of the Chief Data Office, our focus was on using the latest, greatest from product research and developing the data and AI backbone for IBM, which I was responsible for. So I'll share some experience on how some of that was used to transform many of our processes, and just focus on a simple use case. But that has a similar pattern is being played out in other domains as well. Now, so business transformation at enterprise scale with generative AI, it requires, I would say, a hybrid cloud infrastructure to support it, because you have data that's dispersed across multiple clouds, on-prem, so on and so forth. The hybrid cloud infrastructure helps to connect the dots and the data from across disparate environments. Then you need a data architecture to establish that foundation where you can get the right data, structured, unstructured, to train the various models. Governance structure ensures AI is compliant, data is compliant, it's ethical, secure, and that's a range of telemetry that's involved as well to track the flow of data and various aspects. But I think what's really important is, of course, the culture within the organization. There's a growth mindset where you embrace new ways of working and commitment to continual skills enhancement. So it's a journey that one has to put forth in an organization. Now, so what I'll do is share what we did for Client Zero. So before our clients adopt new AI-driven approaches, we make sure that they work for us. So that's what we call Client Zero. So it's our internal journey to boost productivity by eliminating complexity, simplifying our end-to-end workflows, automating the manual tasks, and deploying AI across all operations. That is really embedding AI everywhere. And that's how we are targeting a $4.5 billion in productivity savings by this year. That's our exit rate. And as I just indicated, the sequence matters. But at the end of the day, the foundation is the data. So you need enterprise-wide governance, data architecture, an integrated enterprise data model. We can break down silos and truly enable end-to-end workflows. And I work for IBM, very complex, multi-generational systems and various domains that's involved. So we have applied this approach to over 100 use cases inside IBM, and they fall into these broad opportunity areas. You have the enterprise insights, which improves data integration, governance to deliver the real-time insights, better collaboration, compliance across finance, supply chain, operations. Then you have the customer experience that is streamlining the processes, eliminating repetitive tasks, enabling faster, accurate responses across with 24/7 self-service, IT modernization, where you're optimizing infrastructure systems to improve performance, enhancing security, reducing cost, and building resilience, and employee productivity, automating work across HR. And I'll share the HR use case today. You're automating work across HR and sales and marketing, IT, and freeing the employees to focus on more high-value strategic work. But across all of these four, the outcomes are pretty consistent. Productivity gains, cost savings, better decision-making, and employees empowered to focus on where they add the most value. So let me share outcomes, because I have almost like 100 slider, but I picked just one use case. But we share our journey across multiple mission-critical the business domains and how we have been working to transform it. So in Ask HR is at the heart of our digital HR transformation. HR is human resource transformation. It helped us to eliminate the complexity, simplifying the support, and automating tasks at scale. And Ask HR isn't just a support channel. It's a model for how AI and automation can reshape work, reduce costs, and create more personalized and efficient employee experiences. So let me walk through some outcomes. And and the phases of this journey that's on this slide. So Ask HR now handles over 11.5 million yearly transaction with IBMers. A couple of years ago, I used to interact with our HR partners quite a lot, but 97% of it, 94, 97, one of these two, 94% of it is now being handled by the Ask HR system itself. And most of our queries are typically information oriented, so we don't have to reach out to our HR partners for that. So that really frees them up. So we have achieved a 40% reduction in operating budget and raised the average level of HR support by about 2 bands, which means higher quality, more consistent service for the employees. Now, looking at the transformation pillars, which is on the right-hand side of this, eliminate complexity. What does that really mean? Because transformation is not just AI and technology. So first is we centralize the HR delivery model, consolidating the platforms and eliminating 75% of applications. And this has created huge operational efficiency. Second is simplifying the end-to-end support. So we now have a single engagement layer, which is that Ask HR. That is, most of our queries are resolved by it. We can ask information-oriented queries. We can get results on certain tasks, like let's say moving personnel from X manager to Y manager. Everything is done through Ask HR. And so, and it's a streamlined 2-tier model so that areas that needs escalation, sure, we use that path. And my interactions with HR has reduced significantly over the last 2 years. And third is the automate task, where we have automated around 100 HR tasks, executing about 1.1 million transactions with 100% manager adoption and reduce the HR tickets by over 75%. So if you look at the bottom, you'll see the evolution of how we went about doing it and what we plan to do going forward with agents. So first is the digital first HR model, where we began with centralization, automation through RPA and platform consolidation. Phase 2 was around the evolution of the HR delivery services, which is moved from multi-channel, which was actually complicated. We have multiple channels of operation doing certain tasks, to omni-channel delivery. So freeing the HR personnel to higher value work, standardizing architecture, introducing various AI-infused offerings. Today's state is personalized experiences with generative AI, where we are enabling decision-making with AI, hyper-personalized, multi-turn conversations, creating digital workers, and ensuring the human remains in the loop for ethical AI. And going forward, where we are working towards HR will operate in a hybrid model. So some roles fully agent-driven. In fact, I have a agent architecture in the next slide probably. And some roles will be fully human, and many more where humans are being augmented by agents. And I think we'll see in this, the next slide around multi-agent orchestration, varying the levels of autonomy, and zero-touch HR, where routine functions require no manual involvement. So this has been a journey and the outcomes thus far. And this is, I think, a summarization of the same information. So this is the AI agent work that's the team's currently working on, where instead of interacting with, so you'll find this orchestrator agent on the right-hand side, which is trying to handle reasoning, routing, orchestration across a set of specialized agents that you see in the next. This orchestrator agent is LLM-based, so it can understand request, reason about intent, decide which domain or tool specific agent to call. The next, you'll see the domain agents, which is the like career and skills highlighted in yellow, travel agent, HR support agent, and so on. And each one, again, is LLM enabled and focuses on specific outcomes. So if you ask a question about your benefits package, the orchestrator routes you to the benefit agent. Check your travel policy as a travel agent. So these are all purpose-built, outcome-driven agents. Then you have the integration with existing systems. So let's say Joule, highlighted in purple, or Now Assist. So these are examples of third-party agents that you're calling. So the orchestrator doesn't just rely on IBM built agents, but can also tap into external HR or IT tools when needed. And then you have the agent tools catalog that provides a catalog of all the agentic tools, like tools, HR tools, SAP, ServiceNow, Avature, and a whole range of the catalog that contains of a lot of these tools. And they provide the skills and actions that the agents can invoke to resolve requests end to end. So approving leave, or generating an offer letter, or checking onboarding tasks. So you have a range of agents, internal, external, they come with various skills that we can tap. So what this will lead to is an employee experience, which results in, instead of searching through multiple HR portals, they interact with the orchestrated agent in natural language. And the system routes the requests to the right domain agent or tool, automating the processes behind the scenes. And this is hopefully expected to reduce friction, improve the accuracy, and gives the HR team to focus on more higher value work. And so there are many more case studies that I have in every business workflow, like be it supply chain or IT or procurement or M&A, where you're building the first agentic system, finance, so on and so forth. But this gives you a feel for what our journey has been with HR and some outcomes. And we talk a lot about it in various open forums. And this is a talk I just given yesterday, but the first three I think are still relevant for this discussion. Is reimagining workflows, focusing on business outcomes from the get-go, and then you need a strong foundations that centers around data fabric, governance, observability, and hybrid cloud at scale. So with this, let me hand over to.
No, thanks,
Yeah.
Ranjan.
Yep, sure.
Yeah, I think that's really useful. One of my takeaways on that one, as you started to talk about the process or the sequence, and I think I'm starting to take on Mary's ideas around the 2026 conference and potentially think of a theme. That resonated really, really well with me in terms of the sequence. So one of the things that we've been working on here, and we can have some examples around, we're doing an ERP transformation right now. So I'm leading that in one of those work streams, and we took a similar approach. So map out the business process. What are all of the steps? Level 1, level 2, level 3, 4, and 5. And then as you map the business process out, and then we model it, we're using an SAP Signavio tool. But as you model it, then identify some of the pain points. Do some process mining to see when some of these steps are taking too long, and then reimagine what the business process looks like when you take that complexity out or you simplify it. Then look at where you can lean into automation. Then look at where you can overlay that with some AI, or, to Stefan's point, some algorithms, whatever, to deliver some insight or some value. So I think all of that, as you said in your third bullet point there in summary, is built on a really solid foundation of data and governance. You obviously need that. Yeah, I definitely think that there's some themes coming together around how we could help the community join the dots. One bit of feedback I am very mindful of, your journey, Ranjan, looks very mature, as in it's IBM, right? I mean, it's a big company. You've probably been, as a company, on this journey for many, many years. I do think we just need to be mindful that some of our community might not be as mature. So they might go, oh, yeah, that's great, but where do I start? So that's great for the art of the possible. I think we need to be able to bring them along, because we're all at different stages. I like the fact that you're using Joule, because that's what I'm just about to try and start using here as well. But yeah, I mean, what other thoughts? I mean, Asha, Ranj, Devendra, I see Tony joined as well.
So
Yeah, I was going to ask Chris, who provides leadership at a very large organization called Bear, what his reaction is to this whole AI challenge. How are you taking it on, Chris?
Yeah, no, actually, listening to Leon, I had some very parallel thoughts. Echo a lot of what you said, because also at Bayer, we're going through the S4HANA, and we need to
Yep.
connect. I made a note. I'm gonna email you.
Yeah.
We need to connect. I want to hear about how you're doing that program. Yeah, a lot of the same thoughts, that it's kind of like starting with the foundation and then you're building on it. And Ranjan, you had that, I think, in the presentation, and then in the last bullets, maybe it was the third one.
Yeah.
So to me, that was kind of the theme, because not doing one-off pilots, and Bayer, I will say, so not overall, there's some nice AI applications to help people, let's say generally, like build their own agents and this and that. But from a supply chain specific perspective within pharma, the AI strategy is, I think it's pretty nascent still. And where most of our energy is focused is getting the foundations right. So, I mean, we're going to S4HANA, like a lot of companies have to do, like Illumina, but we're also going with OMP as a planning, bolt-on, ideally before that, or in some cases at the same time, because our APO can't talk to S4; it's too modified.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Been there.
So, and with that is like that's a massive undertaking and massive change for the frontline people doing the planning and the purchasing. And also a lot of cleanup, master data. And so to me, that theme of getting the foundations right, getting that infrastructure right, that you can then put something more sophisticated on top, that resonates. And that's kind of where we are. I mean, honestly, yeah, in pharma, I think other divisions are in maybe in different places, but for us, that's where we're at. And we have RPAs and stuff like that, but I don't think we have a coherent. Personally, I don't think we have a coherent AI strategy. This is meant to kind of sort of develop as we roll out this other transformation with S4 and all the satellites too. That's the other thing that resonated. We've got like 6,000 satellite things across the company, and we want to reduce that down exponentially as well. So
that's another thing that we did, Chris, is when we were looking at all of this and scoping it out, we did an inventory of all of our boundary systems. So when you say satellites, are you talking about applications, or are you talking about DCs and sites?
Sorry, talking about satellite applications that somehow connect to SAP or use data from SAP. And because they said the target, we want to target like 250 or something. I was like, oh my God, that's a ton. They're like, well, we have 6,000.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah. So same approach. So we haven't got that many. Obviously, you're a bigger organization, but same approach in looking at all of the boundary systems that we have, and how can you consolidate, or do we need to think about retrofitting them and doing regression testing and all of that sort of stuff. Don't necessarily want to go down a technical track, but we should talk, because I think there's probably a good another session that we could think about around your journey with S4, how you chose OMP, our journey, and I really honed in on the idea that you want to do OMP before you do S4, right? I understood that right, yeah? Yeah, right. I did the same thing. I didn't go with OMP, and we can have as a forum, we can have a candid conversation about this. I got rid of Kinaxis. And went with IBP, with SAP IBP.
Oh, okay.
So, but I think it would be interesting for the community to understand your thoughts around moving from APO to OMP and not picking SAP, and my thoughts around moving away from Kinaxis, that crazy English guy, and went with SAP IBP. I think it might be interesting for the community to understand where we were coming from and what our decisions were as we were thinking about how to lay this foundation for, or a roadmap. That could be an interesting coffee side chat, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
If I can add a couple of things, having been through SAP implementations, including S4HANA before, the way you want to be also thinking about is where you don't want to duplicate legacy challenges.
Yep.
And you really want to have a clean slate and think differently, more futuristic and more willing to adopt modern ways of doing things. I.e., SAP may or may not solve all your problems, but what I can put on top of it that can solve it and what's good enough for me in SAP.
Yeah.
You need to be thinking about that way, because SAP is not going to give you everything magical.
Nope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's critical and important, that where do we draw lines, and then create the buckets of this is what SAP can do, and this is what I need to rely on, something else that focuses on taking my business in the direction I would like, and not I have to adjust my business to how system wants me to. So there are ways to balance that, and it's very important. This is the digital core for your organizations, and it's critical that you understand how to not go in the area where it is never ending and it will frustrate you, because this transformation is meant for multiple years.
Yep.
That means you are not really taking out those 100 million tomorrow. It will take you 5 years. So
Yeah.
you need to be thinking about what is my short, mid, and long-term strategy, and how do I continue to support and help my business, today at the same time while the transformation is going on.
Yeah, definitely, Asha. And yeah, I'll talk for my side of it. Well, I've definitely been thinking about that. And the $100 million isn't in a year. That would be a bit of a stretch. It's in 3. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's probably about right. And touch wood, it's still on track for this year. So but you're right. I mean, there's a balance between, waiting for this panacea that's going to solve everything in 2 years when we go live, but then also keeping the business running and delivering incremental benefits. We still have to grow. We still have to grow gross margin. We still have to reduce working capital, drive customer experience, and do everything compliantly. SAP is not the panacea that's going to solve everything, and we just wait. So you're right. It's a balance. It's a tightrope to walk.
Yeah, no, it all speaks to all the comments I've heard since I joined here about 30 minutes ago are on point. Ranjan, what you started with was focus on what actually has business impact. I think you said something like that right at the start. And so the two things I look at, and the comments that all of you have made speak to this is, in terms of digital, AI, et cetera, stop focusing on this is cool, shiny object, and start focusing on real business impact that actually, improves processes and streamlines things and provides benefit. And so diagnostics and therapies get to patients faster, right? And then on the other end, on the technology side, what you said, Asha, was so on point. It's not about, it's not about the technology per se. It's about utilizing each technology for its fullest, best use. Like you want to SAP, you want to, it does a lot, right? You want to stretch it as far as it can go. And then there's some things you need to bolt on at the end, right? And so, thinking through that balance of the front end of what are we doing with it, right? And then the back end, the technology, okay, how do we get the most out of each piece of technology and fit it together the right way? And it's like a constant balancing act.
It's
not one and done. You're right, Tony.
Yeah. And then just add to that, we established the first ever global chief data office. So a lot of the foundation had to be established, and we focused on the art of the possible projects that could impact business. And what really helped, I would say that my skip level was the CFO and CEO of IBM. So right from the beginning, we were very business outcomes focused. That discipline really helped. Else you end up chasing all sorts of shiny objects.
Yeah.
The two reflections I want to make, Leon, one is I really want to endorse your idea of reaching out to Chris.
Yep.
There's incredible value, and that's why I took the liberty of calling our group the Digital Think Tank.
Yeah.
And I can relate to it much more than any one of you. 15 years ago, when Hollywood, the 6 studios were all attempting to put on SAP, they spent $9 billion when they should have spent $3 billion, because they customized the hell out of it. But that's when we stepped in, created a Hollywood IT Society, where they became a digital think tank and started sharing their challenges, issues, problems, and so on. And it really did wonders, Leon. So I really encourage you to pick up that phone and call, and sometimes you'll get the inputs you want, sometimes you may not get. But I think I want to endorse that. To me, that's the purpose of BSMA, or one of the main purposes. The other one I got from Ranjan's presentation, because I'm an engineer who wants tactical solutions, and that is, I think business is going to be a little about orchestrating digital agents.
Yeah.
I mean, agentic AI enables us to deal with those problem areas in a pretty rapid and substantial way. And where I may not have a grandiose master plan, a strategic plan IT, I could very well utilize agentic AI in transportation and eliminate those human activities that take place. So with that said, I want to ask Tony, who is now with Capgemini, Tony Solis. Hey, Tony, is there one use case study that Leon was referring to that you are aware of that could benefit our group discussion? Is there a company that is really utilized in some section of the business an AI tool with results?
So it's a lot of it's nascent, right? In this industry, especially. There's a lot of reasons for that, but I am seeing it used. Ranjan, you've probably seen this as well, but seeing this used in a couple of areas successfully around predictive maintenance for equipment on the manufacturing floor.
Right.
And also for potentially, and also predicting supply chain blips, like looking for signals that there's going to be a problem with this particular raw material we need, or whatever it is. So there are a couple of use cases. The most prominent one I've seen to date that is actually providing real business benefit in today's world is predictive maintenance on equipment.
Okay.
Now, the ones being looked at in the near term are things like, you probably hear a lot about unified namespace. Maybe you have, maybe you haven't, but for streaming data from equipment and systems into one place, and being able to effectively analyze real time what's going on say the manufacturing floor, or more real time what's going on in the supply chain, and the implications for that on quality systems improvements, and finding quality problems more rapidly, or again predicting and mitigating risk in your outbound logistics. So there's a number of things there. So I know I've bounced around a bit, but the first one, equipment maintenance, is the one I've seen work for sure, and the rest of it is a lot of exploration going on.
Okay. Hey, by the way, I want to welcome Randy, Dr. Bradley. Welcome, Randy. Randy had another commitment. He's finally on board. And any thoughts, Randy, as to what you heard in the last maybe last 10 minutes?
I came in on the tail end. I think Ranjan was speaking to Devendra. Then I think you started to speak more about agentic AI, and then Tony. Well, I'm sorry. Before Tony, I think it was Chris who was giving some examples of how it was being used. One thing, Devendra, that I'll go back to, and I think this was part of a conversation you and I had earlier. I was interviewed last week for a magazine talking, and of course, oftentimes panel, and I heard some executives say some things that made me cringe, particularly because these are individuals who we think are in the know and have people listening to them who want to follow what they said. And when one person said, I could care less about my data and what type of data I have because I can fix all of that, I cringed, because I said we are sending the wrong message. And this whole notion of various types of data are more suitable for various forms of AI, but not suitable for all forms of AI. And then this whole notion, I think it was Ranjan mentioned that at IBM when they were looking at this, is you really had to look at it more from a business, through a business lens and not a technological lens. And more importantly, more downstream, who am I trying to serve by way of addressing this business challenge or taking advantage of this business opportunity? So Devendra, the farther we get down this path of emerging technology, the more I'm convinced we have to bring people back to pure blocking and tackling. The basics, the foundations, the fundamentals. Those are still fundamental. And if they're flawed, then no matter what emerging technology we throw at it, we're going to create more problems than we had in the beginning.
Really important.
Yeah.
So glad you said that. Yeah.
We always talk about there is no AI strategy without data strategy. It's just so foundational. I'm just surprised that you have someone at an executive level giving those statements, Randy.
There's a lot of people at the senior leadership levels at companies that I don't think fully understand. I mean, I know we're being recorded, but I don't think they understand the difference between AI, agentic AI, and generative AI. I don't think they understand the implications of the foundation you need to build to get the right value out of it. So that's natural, right? That's up to us to educate them.
Right. Yeah. But on the data thing that Randy talked about, how many of you have heard about Databricks solution to create a data lake for an enterprise? I'm just wondering how real is that, or is that just smoke and mirrors? Is there an ability to create a data lake for a company through some mechanism that they have?
Devendra, yeah, like in Bayer we have this setup. I can't speak to it at all from a technical perspective.
Okay.
But yeah, I know that's part of the architecture and the for all the data.
And the reason I asked the question is, in that case, I would like to reach out to them and see if they really have a solution that our community would benefit from. That's why I asked the question.
So let me tell you what Databricks is.
Okay, I know what Databricks is, but I was more concerned about the solution that they have that pulls the data from all the silos into one central place.
Yeah, so Databricks is one of the platforms that sits in the enterprise data transformation, right? So if you want already built certain accelerators that automatically bolts on to certain areas, then Databricks provides that additional, let's say, hand-holding, which is going to make it easier. But what's important to understand is, do they really have end-to-end, or they have certain use cases that they have established their framework around? So there are multiple ways to looking at how we want to think about broad data strategy, and then how do we put the intelligence on top of it, and how do we accelerate this entire data framework, if you may. And that requires either pre-built capabilities such as Databricks, or there are certain ways that enterprise take an approach to do it themselves. So it all depends on not bringing in any of these kind of a pre-baked solutions to the problem, but do we internally have a proper data management strategy, and then think about how everything that is out there fits into it. So technology you should choose last, but really understand the core that Ranjan also highlighted of having a full-blown, fully baked data and AI strategy for the enterprise.
Right.
I think, Asha, that runs in parallel with your other strategies. So how are you going to surface and manage all of your data and have governance in parallel to, you know, the more transactional side, let me say, of the business? For Databricks, I mean, you could use Snowflake, you could use AWS, you could use Google Cloud. There's a million different ways that you could approach gathering your enterprise data, and then put something over the top to have some sort of AI engine, as it were.
Some sort of a visualization mechanism.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the way. Yeah.
Yeah, and I spent a lot of time on data lakes. In fact, the solution that I was referring to, the enterprise data platform, was centered around the data lake as well, all
Yeah.
on all state drives, uber efficient. And we layered all the governance and intelligence on top.
Mhm.
Ranjan,
And that's a big
question
journey
for
in
you.
itself.
Yeah, I had a question for Ranjan. My reaction to your presentation was that approach could be just taken to a company, company Illumina, whatever else, and they could implement it in certain functions of that company, right? I mean, it looks so solid, integrated, modular, that I could take that, and if I was running a company, I would apply it to HR, I would apply to operations, I'd apply to finance. My question is, really, I know you must have done it for pharmaceutical companies. So is there a company that we could reach out to
So,
as a case study?
so
Yeah.
okay, go ahead, Ranjan. Yeah, you have to go from problem to the solution.
I know, but my thing is, remember, IBM is a huge consulting company as well. So from that end, have you got a pharmaceutical company that is kind of emulating your approach?
Well, I'm sure there might be. So the approach that I use internally for IBM, we showcased to multiple enterprises. In fact, we hosted CDO and CTO summits, I think 29 of them. That was the longest running for a long time. I think while I moved to IBM Research in 2024, in 2023, I think we closed that summit series that the CTO sponsored, and all the transformations that we had internally that we were driving the CDO was shared with over 1,000 clients. And a lot of them were then replicated in many industries. Consulting, I'm sure they're doing it with a much broader range of clients. So I can check with consulting to see what they're up to with the pharma industry, and there might be use cases there that I could share.
If I could make the request, particularly with a conference in mind, is having one of those presentations where you have your customer and IBM demonstrating how digitalization has helped.
Sure, I'll let me check.
Thank you.
You know, Devendra, I'm no longer driving, so I just wanted to chime in. I thought the presentation was great. I just finished up, I'm also an adjunct advisor to IDC, and I finished up a report they asked me to do on Industry 4.0, an update on Industry 4.0 for life sciences industry. And obviously, what's changed about Industry 4.0 over the last 2 years is the whole influx of AI, Gen AI, Agentic AI. And, you know, one of the feedback that's coming from the IDC customers is, and this was echoed before, it's like, well, how do we actually use AI? And one of the things that became obvious, and we talked a lot about technology, and we talked about remapping business processes, but we also kind of need to remap people to embrace AI in the process. You know, an example that I used in the report is, so AI can analyze, let's take batch releases or quality control in a pharmaceutical industry. You know, that's AI. AI can greatly improve the speed at which you improve yields and things like that, because it can dig into the data in ways that people could never do. And but in order to leverage that, you have to figure, okay, I'm going to shorten the manufacturing lead times because I no longer need to allocate 10 days to get the quality up to speed. I can do it in 2 days, or I can do it in 2 hours. But unless the people are changing that process to leverage that AI, all the data in the world, unless people say, change the process and set those benchmarks, because you know, I agree, we started out talking about the ability to reduce inventory. Reducing lead times in the pharma industry could be done with AI, could be done tomorrow, and drastically cut inventory. Could it be enhanced with AI? Absolutely. Could you use AI to surface problems faster, identify data inconsistencies? But the people have to figure out how to embrace that and leverage it. And I think if we could have a discussion on some of the successful use cases, talk about that people aspect. How did people embrace it? And it's not just college kids writing reports, because the professor gives them the same amount of time to write the report, all they did was have more time to get ice cream or something else. If you want to embrace AI in a business and you want to reduce inventory, accelerate time to market, you've got to change those processes. You've got to bake that in and set those as goals. And as we all know, the pharmaceutical industry, for good reasons, is very conservative and gives themselves lots of time to do things. So I just think if we could get a case study on that, or a panel on people who have actually really embraced and embedded AI into new processes and upskilled the workers to really depend on it rather than, consider it as a glorified search tool to help them with their current role, but not really changing their role.
You just reminded me, John, and by the way, so some of you who do not know John very well, he used to be with TraceLink for a very, very long time and has been a pioneer in that space. John, you got me thinking about the fact that Johnson & Johnson, Merck, and GSK and Eli Lilly have implemented an enterprise-wide AI training program.
Yeah.
J&J, for example, sought out ideas, and they had like 1,200 ideas or more than that, and then reduced it down to 120, and they're going to invest in those ideas. So I think a point well made. I will focus on see how we bring some experts or some case studies on how the people aspect of AI adoption is being dealt with. But my other concern is we got to educate people about the capabilities of digitalization and AI. I mean, I feel myself, every day I'm learning something new, and I know nothing yet. So that's the role BSMA needs to play, is to educate people. They do not know what they do not know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have to say one
Leon,
thing.
am I all wrong, or?
No, you're
No,
right. I'm sorry,
you're right
Mary.
on.
Yeah, you're right on. And I was just going to echo John's point. I think a panel or a conversation around organizational readiness, or
Change
call it,
management.
change readiness, or
management.
digital literacy.
Yes.
Whatever you
Right.
want to call it is a really good topic. Sorry, Mary.
That's a great
No,
topic.
you're right. We're speaking the same language here. Change management is a huge challenge within organizations when you're implementing AI, because we have the workforce for organizations, and with all the cutbacks that companies have had, everyone is afraid.
Yep.
So they will sabotage anything they possibly can sometimes, knowingly or unknowingly, because they're afraid.
I like it. The analogy I use is back when just-in-time came into the automobile industry. It wasn't about new systems. It wasn't about fixing this here and there. It was about a completely different way of thinking about things, right? And that's what I think AI brings to every industry, not just pharma, but pharma more than most.
Yeah. No, the idea of digital literacy followed with change management is a topic we got to address. And we still need some other ideas on AI case studies so that we can begin to educate our community. For me, that's priority number one. If you could help us with that, it'll be great.
I will help there, Devendra.
Thank you, Asha.
Thanks,
You
Asha.
always have. Thank you.
All right, I've got to get to the webinar you were talking about.
We got quite a few webinars on the AI topic. One Rich Kilmer is doing with Dr. Zadeh on agentic AI. And we got another one in clinical trials. And I think we need more and more webinars. So your ideas on that subject would be most welcome.
Cool. Well, Devendra, I think we're at time.
Yeah. I've got
So respect everybody's time. I really appreciate the conversation and feedback.
Great.
Devendra, we should catch up. I'll reach out to Chris and catch up with him
Okay.
and work with Mary on, the future session or building out the agenda for the 2026 conference.
Let's do it.
Wonderful. We thank you all for
Great
your time
discussion.
today.
Thanks,
Thanks,
everybody.
everybody.
Thank you
Have a
all.
great day.
Bye-bye.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Randy.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye.